Do you ever get like a thought in your head that doesn't seem like it should be there? Do I all of a sudden feel all of these emotions associated with this thought? That, my friend, is an intrusive thought. And it's really unfortunate, but a lot of people experience intrusive thoughts, especially people who are susceptible to experience anxiety and depression. Intrusive thoughts can happen to anyone, anytime, any place, for any reason. Usually they are triggered by a situation or a life event. Sometimes you can just be like walking down the street and ba-boom, there's an intrusive thought about something. And our body and our immediate reaction is to believe the thoughts that happen or the thoughts that we have, even though deep down there is no logical reason or any evidence to actually support the thought that we're having. I am someone who is susceptible to having intrusive thoughts. I've had them forever, and intrusive thoughts can be really, really damaging to our self-esteem and our self-confidence and our general sense of self and who we are. If we believed every thought that came into our head, that could be a really dangerous kind of world that we would live in. Luckily, there are things that we can do to kind of fight back against those thoughts that pop into our head. The intrusive ones, the ones that shouldn't be there, and the ones that have no reason to be there. One of these techniques that I love personally and use a lot would be the evidence for and against practice. The way that this technique works is that it forces you to label the thought and to be really clear about what the thought is. It allows you to recognize the emotions that you're experiencing because of the thought. It also helps to realize what your triggers might be. So what I want you to do is I want you to grab a piece of paper and a pen. I have also done a PDF worksheet down below if you're interested in that, so feel free to pause now and to print that off if you want to work off that one. But all you really need is a piece of paper and a pen. Sometimes as this technique and as you get better at it, you could probably just do it with a friend or even on your own. The next thing I want us to do is I want us to take 3 really deep breaths. And I want us to do them like in through the nose, out through the mouth. So the first thing I want you to do on your piece of paper is I want you to draw 5 columns. So break your piece of paper into 5 different sections. We're going to work in the first section now. So your very first section, in your very first column, I want you to write what happened. So I want you to write down what the situation was, what the trigger was, what caused the thought to pop into your head. In the second column, I want you to write down what the thought is. I want you to be really clear and really concise. Once you've done that, we can move on to the third column. So the third column is sort of like a brainstorm column. In this column, I want you to brainstorm all of the emotions and write down all of the emotions that you've experienced because of the thought. So if you have experienced sadness, depression, feeling lonely, or feeling worthless, whatever the emotions are that you're feeling for this thought, write them down in that column so you have a clear understanding of what's going on. Now, before we move on to the fourth column, I want you to take a quick moment and reread through the last 3 columns. So reread your situation, reread what the thought is that you had, and take a minute to identify the emotions that are most prevalent because of the thought. Now, we're going to move on to the fourth column. So this column is called the evidence for column. So this is the column where you're going to write down some evidence that supports the thought that you had. So if you are having a thought and it's like, my friend hates me, you had a bad conversation or they didn't text you back in enough time or whatever. If your thought is, I am not a good friend or my friends don't like me, write down evidence to support that thought. So don't spend too much time in column 4. I would literally set yourself a timer for like 2 minutes, and that's all of the time that you're allowed to spend in column 4. Column 5 is where you want to spend most of your time. So in column 5, this is where we're going to write down all of the evidence that doesn't support the thought. And if you're just starting out, it might be really beneficial to do this with a friend or a family member because having an outside perspective can be beneficial. Why are you a good friend? If your situation and your intrusive thought was, I'm a bad friend, in column 5, write down all the reasons why you're a great friend. All of the reasons that don't support the thought. Write them all down. Don't reread the thought, don't reread anything. Save the piece of paper so if the thought pops up again, you can remind yourself all of the reasons why the thought is wrong and has no support. But don't go back and reread your work. Just as soon as you have that moment of, oh, I don't need to have that thought. That thought is illogical. It doesn't make sense to have. Move on with your life. I really hope that this video has provided some help and support if you are someone who's experiencing intrusive thoughts. If you found this video beneficial at all, I would love it if you gave it a thumbs up. It really, really helps make the community grow. Don't forget to hit subscribe on your way out. Thanks so much, and I will see you again very soon.